G'day, my name is Shay with Box Collector, and today I will be teaching you how to play the 1 to 4 player game Micro Architects, designed by, and forgive me designers because I'm probably going to butcher your name, Kamil Langi, Yaroslav Wojciech, and Michael Jadinsky, and published by Thistroy Games, who provided me with this copy. In Micro Architects, you are a city planner. You are designing the buildings, the services, the events, and providing accommodations for the people in the city. To set up the game, place the architect board in the middle of the table, shuffle all goals cards, and place 3 pairs above the architect's board. Put the remaining cards back in the box. They will not be used for the rest of the game. Shuffle all service cards and place the deck next to the architect's board. Reveal 3 service cards face up next to the deck. Put all buildings in the bag. Shake well, and then draw the proper number and place them in rows below the architect's board. In this example, I'll be setting up with a 3-player game. So you're going to do 3 rows with 9 buildings each. Draw 6 buildings from the bag and place them in the backup plan section of the architect's board. Shuffle requirement tiles and draw equal to the number of landmarks, the black buildings, in the first row of the building plan section and the backup plans summed up. Place them face up next to the architect's board. Put the remaining requirement tiles in a face down stack. So in my case, I have 2 in the first row and then 2 in the backup plans, so I have 4. Place boats nearby in reach of all players. Each player receives 1 city board, a scoring token, and 6 action tokens in their chosen color. They place 2 action tokens in their player area and the remaining 4 tokens aside. They will be needed later. The scoring tokens are placed next to the architect's board. The first player card goes to the person who last held a hammer. The game is divided into 3 rounds, and each round includes a action phase, scoring phase, and cleanup phase. Beginning with the first player, all players perform their turns in clockwise order. On your turn, you must take 1 building from the topmost row and place it in a free space on your city board. You may also discard an action token to the architect's board to perform an action up to 2 times per turn. Collect any number of service cards using 2 boats for each of them, any number of times if you have enough boats available, and use 1 boat to reclaim 2 used action tokens any number of times. The city board consists of 8 blocks. Each block is either green or gray. In each of them, there are 2 spaces by the water and 2 by the mountains. Buildings are always chosen from those currently available in the top non-empty row. You can take any available building in the row regardless of their order and place it in any free space in your city. If a building is placed on the last available space of a block, you receive 1 boat token and place it on the life preserver by that block. Each time you take a landmark, one of the black buildings, you also have to choose one of the available requirement tiles. Place the requirement tile beside the block with the new landmark. Each block can accommodate up to 4 buildings, no matter the type. At the end of each round, landmarks score points for fulfilling conditions on the requirement tiles. The bottom part of the requirement tile shows a landmark's placement and neighbor preferences. Anytime during your turn, before or after taking a building, you may perform up to 2 actions using 1 action token per action. Used tokens should be discarded into the appropriate space on the architect's board. Available actions are Overhaul, which allows you to swap 2 buildings of your choice in your city. If you are swapping a landmark, you must also take one of the requirement tiles besides that block and place it beside the new block. Another option is Backup Plan, which allows you to swap a chosen building from your city with one of the available ones in the Backup Plan section of the architect's board. If you choose a landmark from the backup plans, you must also choose one of the available requirement tiles and place it beside the block where you place the new landmark. If you swap a landmark from your city with another building from the backup plans, remove any one of the requirement tiles from that landmark's block and put it back with the landmark requirements tiles next to the architect's board. Another option is Relocation, which allows you to move a building to any other available space in your city. If this would result in filling a block with no boat token beside it, draw 1 boat token and place it on the life preserver by that block. And your last option is Demanding Residence. Draw 2 additional service cards and place them face up beside the others. You can now decide if you want to spend 2 boat tokens and pick one of the available 5 service cards. If you pick one of the extra 2 service cards, place the remaining one into the discard pile. If you decide on taking one of the basic 3 service cards, refill the offer with a new card from the top of the service deck and discard 2 previously drawn service cards. At any time during your turn, you may use any 2 boat tokens in order to take one of the available service cards. You mark use boats by sliding them to reveal a life preserver. Place the service card next to your city. Immediately draw another card from the service deck and place it face up next to the architect's board so that there are always 3 available. You can never have 2 identical service cards in your player area. At the end of each round, players score 2 victory points for every pair of buildings in the indicated types located in the player's city. And the buildings do not have to be placed in the same block. Simply sum up all the pairs of the buildings in the colors depicted on the card. So I have 1 red and a blue. I only have 1 pair, 2 points. When the current row of buildings becomes empty, check how many landmarks there are in the next row and the backup plan section. Place the proper number of landmark requirement tiles next to the architect's board, drawing them from the top of the requirements tile stack. The first player passes the first player card to the person sitting to their left, and the new first player begins their turn. Continue playing until the last row of buildings becomes empty and proceed to the scoring phase. Above your architect board are the 6 goal cards. In each round, there are 2 different goal cards that you'll use for scoring buildings in your city, as shown on goal cards. Each player scores victory points on the right side of the goal card for every block or set of blocks that meet the condition shown on the left side. All goal cards are explained in the appendix. So in this goal, you want 4 buildings of the same type placed by the mountains in 2 adjacent blocks. And in this one, you want 2 pairs of buildings in 1 block placed diagonally to each other. And this pattern can be mirrored. So in round 1, you'll score these 2, round 2, these 2, and round 3, these 2. Each player receives points for all of their landmark requirement tiles. Score each tile separately. 1 landmark matches only 1 of the requirement tiles. If a building is placed according to its placement preferences, you gain 1 victory point. Additionally, you can score up to 3 more victory points, 1 for each building in one of the 2 types indicated on the requirement tile, meaning that each requirement tile can grant a maximum of 4 victory points for fulfilling both preferences. So this landmark wants to be placed in a green block next to the mountains, which in this case, we placed it in a gray block next to the river. So we don't get a point for that. However, we have a purple and a green building in this block, so we get 1 point for each, meaning we score 2 for this one. Over here, the building requirement was to build in a green block by the river, which we did. We've got this landmark here in a green block next to the river, and then we have only 1 yellow building in the block for an additional point, meaning we get 2 points for this one. And each player receives points for all of their service cards, scoring each card separately, counting all pairs of buildings of types indicated on the given service card. And as I mentioned before, these buildings do not have to be beside one another. So even if it's like this, where the red and the blue aren't together, you still get the 2 points. And if I had another red somewhere, I would get 4 points for having another pair. After scoring in rounds 1 and 2, perform the cleanup actions. Flip both scored goal cards face down. In the following round, you will score the next 2 goal cards. Put the buildings from the backup plan section back in the bag. Shake well and draw 6 new buildings to place in the backup plan section. And then once again, draw new buildings and place them below the architect's board according to the player count. Discard the remaining requirement tiles and replace with as many new requirement tiles as there are landmarks in the first row of the building plans and in the backup plan section. If there are none, then no requirement tiles should be placed. Each player receives 2 action tokens. Remember, regardless of the number of action tokens you have, you can only spend up to 2 of them on each turn. The first player passes their first player card to the person sitting to their left, and if this is the end of round 3, skip the cleanup phase and proceed to final scoring. The game ends after round 3. Players score additional victory points for their unused boats and action tokens. Each unused boat is worth 2 victory points, and each unused action token is worth 1. The player with the most victory points wins. If there is a tie, then the player with the least amount of landmarks wins. And if there's still a tie, players share the victory. This game also comes with a solo mode. In solo mode, players go against a virtual opponent called the Artificial Intelligence-Driven Architect, or AIDA. AIDA performs turns in the same way as a real player, but its actions are driven by a deck of cards. Its cards are divided into 3 sections, and each section shows a different action that the bot can perform on its turn. First, AIDA tries to perform the action shown on the top of the card. If it's not possible, then it tries to perform the action in the second section, and then the third. So AIDA performs only one action from the card. Set the game up for 2 players as described in the rulebook. AIDA receives a city board and 1 random service card. Shuffle AIDA's cards and place them face down beside its city. Choose the difficulty, which can be found in the rulebook. And AIDA doesn't use actions, so you can place the action tokens back in the box as they won't be used during the game. The gameplay is similar to the multiplayer mode with a few changes. Place the buildings in the backup plan section in 1 row. During the game, you'll place requirement tiles in 1 row. You are always the first player. AIDA can place only 1 landmark per block. And if AIDA needs to decide between multiple sections on the city board, the resolving order is left to right and top to bottom. Micro Architects also has multiple modules that you can add to change up the game. In the Residence module, place resident meeples nearby in reach of all players, and each player receives a residence board. In the Residence module, the blocks need residents, obviously, otherwise they'll become obsolete. So it's time that people move into our city. Beginning with the first building from the left, place a resident meeple of a corresponding color under every odd building of each row. Each player now has a residential board, which is divided into 3 sections with 2 rows each. When taking a building with a residential meeple beside it, place the building as usual in one of the available spaces in your city. Next, place the resident in a leftmost available space in any one of the rows on the residential board. Each row on a residential board can store residents of 1 color only. A landmark's resident meeple can be used as any color. In a case that you can no longer add residents, for example, all rows on the residential board are full, or the resident is in a different color than the new resident meeple, it is discarded. When you fill a row with 3 residents of the same color, you activate one of 2 bonuses depending on the row. Either retrieve 1 action token if you have any that have been used, or gain 3 victory points. If the whole section becomes full, so both rows are filled with residents, you immediately receive 1 boat token and place it on the life preserver icon on the river next to that section. When playing in solo mode, AIDA always prioritizes buildings with resident meeples beside them. And AIDA fills its residential board from top to bottom, first filling the first row, then the second, and AIDA always gains 3 victory points for every filled row instead of the regular reward. The second module you can add is the Events module. This expansion deck adds a deck of events which will ultimately test your planning skills. If you are not playing with the Residence module, remove card 19. Depending on the number of players, players draw cards per each row of buildings for the first round. So in a 2-player game, each player would draw 2 event cards, otherwise they would draw 1. This expansion adds an event phase. Every time the current row of buildings becomes empty, players resolve the current event cards. There are 2 types of event cards: positives, which are optional, and negatives, which are mandatory. Some of the positive events present you with a scoring opportunity, others have a simple reward. All events must be resolved from left to right and in player order. After you prepare the building rows, draw new event cards. And that is how you play Micro Architects. However, I'm not here to just teach you how to play the base game. I'm also going to teach you how to play the brand new expansion, Micro Architects Big City Vacation. Keep in mind that this is a demo copy and all components and rules are subject to change. To set up the Big City module, add 20 of the turquoise hotel buildings to the bag with the rest of the buildings. Then proceed with the setup as described in the base game rules. After that, perform the following additional steps. Sort the skyscraper cards by building color and display all of them in easy reach of all players. Place a skyscraper on the matching color on each card. If you are playing with the Residence module, add 10 turquoise resident meeples from this expansion to the other meeples. Add them to the buildings on the display according to the rules described in the Residence module. Hotel is a new building type. It can be placed in your city like any other building, and hotels count toward all scoring effects that require different building types. The skyscrapers are a new type of building you may place on your city board. And it's important to note that they count to scoring only for landmark requirements and goals. Their number is limited, and to acquire a skyscraper, you must meet certain conditions. You must have 2 buildings of a matching color adjacent to each other in one block. And that block must be filled, so no more empty spaces for the buildings. And then the skyscrapers themselves have card conditions. So some buildings want to be by the mountains or by the water or placed in a gray or green block, or require certain color buildings in the same block. If any 2 buildings meet the criteria shown on a card in the display, you may replace them with the corresponding skyscraper. Return the replaced buildings to the bag. Then take the matching skyscraper card and place it in your play area, immediately gaining the printed victory points. And from now on, you cannot in any way change the position of the skyscraper. During the scoring phase, if a skyscraper shares a block with a landmark, it is treated as 2 buildings. Additionally, you gain 2 victory points for each skyscraper in your city. During final scoring, the player with the most skyscrapers gains 2 victory points. And if there is a tie, all tied players gain 2 victory points. To set up the vacation module, perform the setup as described in the core game rules with the following changes and additions. Put all palm trees, huts, lighthouses, and sun umbrellas in the vacation bag and shake it well. Randomly draw a token from the vacation bag and add it to every other building starting with the second building in each row. Each player receives a resort board and places the cruise ship in their color next to it. Place 4 random tokens from the vacation bag in the reserve pool next to the architect's board. Each player now has a resort board featuring various destinations. Each destination can hold 1 or 2 resort tokens of the depicted type. On your turn, when you take a building with the resort token attached to it, you may place that resort token on a spot up to 3 spots away from the ship. So at the beginning of the game, it's the first 3 spots on the board available to you. If there isn't a spot available to you, discard the resort token. You may spend 1 action to exchange the resort token that you acquired this turn for a resort token from the reserve. Once per turn, you may move the ship by 1 space. And the first time you do it, just place it on the first space in the track. It cannot move to a space that is not adjacent to a placed resort token. You must first place the resort token or tokens to unlock the path. After moving your ship, gain the reward for the space it reaches. The last space rewards you with victory points if you are the first, second, or third player to reach it. To reach it, you gain 6, 4, or 2 victory points. During the cleanup phase, perform as usual with 1 additional step. Put all of the resort tokens from the reserve pool back to the vacation bag. Shake it and draw 4 tokens to create a new reserve pool. And that is how you play Micro Architects Big City Vacation. I hope you enjoyed learning how to play the base game and the expansion, and if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to check out my other content. Thanks.